Good
Nice
evening.
to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Seeing you too.
Okay, I'm going to start the webinar.
Okay.
Is everybody on? I know you, Erica, you said there was 173 people signed up. Is there?
So Gabriella, I don't think we can, oh, if you look in participants, Alderwoman.
Oh, got it.
Then you can see everyone there.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I would wait for a few seconds. They're logging in really rapidly. It went from 10 to 40.
Okay. Okay, we'll wait just a second.
That looks good.
I want to take it off this phone.
Put it downstairs.
Hey,
Where the volume?
yeah, put it downstairs.
It's weird.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We'll get started in just a second. Gabby, can you send a link to Maurice Cox and Melvin, please?
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to get started. We have a really tight agenda today. So we will get moving. So I just want to make a note before we start that there is Spanish translation available. So if you look in your toolbar, you should see an interpretation little note there. You may have to click more to see it. Norma?
Les queremos avisar que si ustedes solamente hablan español, que este audio va a ser presentado también en español con asistencia de Zoom. Así es que les pedimos que busquen el icono de interpretación que está en pantalla, abajo de su pantalla hacia la derecha.
Great, thank you. Our agenda for tonight, we'll do a quick welcome and introduction, an overview and recap of the process. Then we'll have our two teams present. We'll have a video presentation and Q&A, and then we'll move on to next steps. So I just want to say welcome to everyone. I'm really excited. We have a great turnout tonight. And we'll be talking about the responses to the South Chicago Request for Proposals, which was put out in November of last year. And I'd also like to welcome Alderwoman Garza. I didn't know if you wanted to say a few things.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I know this is it's an exciting process, and I look forward to the feedback from the community as well. Just thank you for all the work that's both teams have put behind this, and thanks again for everybody that's here and participating.
Great, thank you. So what we hope to accomplish today is to meet the two teams that responded to the RFP, learn about what their proposals are, and then ask questions to them and provide feedback as well. So the process, as I mentioned, we'll do a quick recap of the RFP vision and process. Then team one will go. They'll have a two quick a quick 2-minute introduction. They'll present a video, which ranges from about 4 to 8 minutes. It will be 30 minutes. Oh, and if you could keep yourself on mute too, that'd be great. So there'll be 30 minutes of Q&A. 20 minutes will be from the Invest Southwest Roundtable members from South Chicago. And those are people that are panelists on today's meeting. And then we'll have 10 minutes for the general public through the Q&A function on your chat. So if you look at your toolbar, you'll see a Q&A. So if you want to ask a question, please stick it in that Q&A function. And if you think of something later on, please reach out to us via email at dpd@cityofchicago.org. As I mentioned, please use the Q&A function. And then answers to all the questions that were either answered here or that we didn't have time to answer will be posted to the DPD website following the meetings. And we'll send out an email to everyone when that's available to view. So quick RFP recap. We had a vision for Commercial Avenue, looking at a variety of privately owned lots and one city-owned lot. It includes 3 existing buildings, one of which is not in great shape, and that's the white and blue building at the corner. And then 2 brick buildings that were previously apartment buildings for residential located on the north end of the site. We selected the site and then created a vision with a good community process. So we had 2 what we called visioning workshops for the RFP site. One was held on October 20th and one was held on November 18th. We also talked about this during the September, October, and November Invest Southwest roundtables for South Chicago. And then we also had a survey that went out and we received 63 responses. So that was also very helpful to us in coming up with the vision. So with the help of Gensler, a design architecture firm, we were able to view this really great rendering of a possible project. So this is what was put into the RFP to sort of make respondents excited about the opportunity here and to give an idea of sort of what the community was looking for. So rehabbing the existing building was important. Having a multifamily rental with affordable units and larger units for families, then having local retail spaces for businesses, small businesses and large businesses, and then community spaces that offer shared workspaces and internet access. So those were some of the things we heard. And then this is another image looking south down Commercial showing that renovated building. So we sent out that RFP and received 2 responses. So as I mentioned, we developed the RFP starting in about October, and then sent the RFP out in November. People had until March to respond, and we got the 2 viable responses, and now we're in the evaluation period. So this is the time where city staff and then also the public gets to review these proposals and provide feedback as well. So as I mentioned, the 2 respondent teams, Steel City Apartments, which is the developers are POA and Clarice Associates. And then the other respondent is Galleria 89, which is 548 Development as the developers. So today you'll see the videos. The development teams are here. So while you're watching, think about what excites you about these projects, and look at things like community wealth building, involvement of minority-owned businesses, promotion of local businesses, local hiring, and prior Southside experience. And also things like, do you believe that the development team and all the members of the team are able to complete this project? Then what are the uses within the building? Is it reflective of community priorities? Is it a high quality design? And is there the experience here to actually realize the project? So how today's feedback will be incorporated into the review of these projects. First, we'll take all of today's comments and questions and issue a developer Q&A to the public by the following Friday, so not tomorrow, but the following on the 14th. We'll have an online scorecard. This we will also send out to everyone who registered for the meeting. That will go out May 14th and remain open for 2 weeks. This scorecard is really about getting your detailed opinions about the two proposals, and will help us as we start looking at and ranking and scoring the proposals. We're also looking at other options for public input. So we already did a round 1 of the RFP in 3 communities, and looking at those community processes, we thought there was a way to make community input more impactful in choosing the developer. So we're still working on the process for that. And then this doesn't end when a developer is selected. There's still a large portion of public review that needs to happen. There'll probably be zoning asks and land disposition. So again, once the developer is selected, there's still a process, a community process that we'll have to go through. So we're going to start with the developer team presentations. But before we jump into that, I'm really happy to have Norma Saladin here, who's going to be the facilitator for tonight's public process. So Norma, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Erica, and good evening to everyone. It's my pleasure to serve as your facilitator this evening. A little bit about me is on screen, but I have been a resident of Chicago for over 45 years. I have lived in Little Village and worked in Pilsen, and I have served various communities across the district. This is but one of those ways. I am bilingual, but tonight you're going to hear me speak primarily in English because we do have a translator. If anybody needs interpreter services and they have not joined our interpreter, there is an icon on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen that says interpretation. Just click on that and choose the language that you choose. Muy buenas noches a todos. Es un placer para mí servir como su moderadora esta tarde. Soy residente de Chicago y he estado aquí por más de 45 años. Vivo en la Villita y he trabajado previamente en la comunidad de Pilsen. Sigo sirviendo a varias comunidades de Chicago en varias maneras. Esta es una de ellas. Yo soy bilingüe, pero hoy me van a escuchar mayormente en inglés porque tendremos una traductora. Si acaso no han conectado con la intérprete, les pedimos que busquen el icono que dice Interpreter abajo a la derecha de su pantalla y ahí pueden seleccionar español. Thank you everyone who is here. I understand that we have over 180 individuals that are registered. This gives me the impression that all who gather here are doing so because they desire the best for the South Chicago community. And with that in mind, I would like to invite us to go over some gathering norms. Erica, if you will click on, thank you. So I'm going to quickly read them. So 1, please mute yourself during your presentations, and that is referring to our panelists when you're not speaking. Please state your name when speaking. And we invite everyone to please use the Zoom Q&A function for any questions. We are going to have 10 minutes after the committee has asked their questions for reading of some of those Q&A questions, questions and answers that are going to be provided. When responding verbally, we ask that you raise your hand and you respect the order and then step up and then step back. All questions and ideas are valid, and we ask that you respond with respect, that you pose your questions with respect. A quick overview again of our format. We are going to have each of our two developers make an 8-minute presentation, followed by 20 minutes of inquiry by our roundtable members. They will be asking their questions out loud. At the same time, we are going to have our Q&A function open. Our audience is welcome to ask questions there. Answers will be provided. Any answers that we do not get to or any questions that we do not get to, again, will be posted on the department website. Again, we will leave 10 minutes after each of the presenters to get a sampling of those questions out loud. Okay, and also I would like to ask our developers to please be succinct with their answers, as we would like to get in as many questions as possible. You may find me interrupting and ask you to consolidate and wrap up. So I just wanted to give you the heads up about that. So our first proposal comes from Steel City with developers, Affordable Housing, and Claretian Associates. So I would like to hand it over to them.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Herlock. I'm the Executive Director for Claretian Associates. For those of you who are not familiar with Claretian Associates, we are a community development corporation who's been dedicated to South Chicago for over 30 years. All 200 of our units of housing are in South Chicago. We are super excited to be partnering with a team that also has deep roots in South Chicago, including POA, which you may be familiar with, and who we developed the South Chicago YMCA with, which is now called the Salud Center, and will be opening this summer, as well as Blackwood Construction, whose principals were raised here in South Chicago, Berglund Construction, who have been located here for many, many years, and Urban Works Architects, whose grandparents actually were raised here in the community. We are super excited about this project because this is our home. This is where we live, this is where we work, this is where we're dedicated to. We're dedicated to making a community of choice, not a community of last resort, but a community where people choose to live. And we are answering, and our proposal is actually a response to the many, many years of hard work of community planning that we've been doing through the quality of life plans, through the commercial revitalization plan, through the Chicago Prize aspirations. We're answering and trying to apply everything that we've learned and everything that the community has said to this project. Because again, this is our home. This is where we want our families to stay. And this is what we want to do. So I will open up for our video.
Thank you, Ms. Herlock.
Gabriella, if you're able to start the video.
South Chicago is an eclectic neighborhood. It's super diverse in demographics, in culture, in ability for people to come and be involved in the community. We have a rich history that stems back to the steel mills and the days of steel that created downtown.
What you're seeing is a site that was historically part of a very busy commercial district, and it remains a commercial district today. But today there are a couple of vacant buildings, some vacant lots, and we have reimagined that as a mixed-use, mixed-income community that returns some commercial vibrancy to Commercial Avenue and pairs that with affordable housing that is affordable to people from a range of incomes.
Our team has deep roots in South Chicago. Claretian Associates, who's been around since the 70s, and POA, who we've been partnered with for the last 3 years in rebuilding the South Chicago Y, but then also Berglund Construction, who have been in South Chicago for many, many years, and Blackwood Construction, who actually, the principals were raised here in South Chicago, as well as Urban Works, the architecture firm where their grandparents actually were raised here in South Chicago.
Steel City Apartments is a mixed income, mixed use residential commercial building. We're adaptively reusing a historic building and also building a new apartment building that includes 44 units of residential, 8,000 square feet of ground floor retail, and 8,000 square feet of office. We're creating smaller retail spaces in this development. It's easier for small and local businesses to occupy smaller spaces and build their businesses from the ground up.
Drawing from the texture and the scale of the existing West Shore building, the proposed building is composed of 2 separate bars, one at the east and one at the west, that flank the gem of the development, the interior courtyard. A beautiful, inspirational, welcoming space that is contained within the building. The commercial spaces are along Commercial Avenue, and they flow from the pedestrian street all the way through the spaces into the courtyard. The courtyard is available to residents as well as the community at large. Above the residential floors that are at the corner of 89th and Commercial, there is a 4th partial floor which holds the community spaces for the residents and spills out onto this beautiful green roof garden. Beyond that, you will see solar panels that are a part of the passive house composition of the entire building.
In addition to having great technical expertise, we wanted a team that also showed great diversity, and we have that. Urban Works, our architecture firm, is both an MBE and a WBE. Blackwood Group is an MBE, and that sort of diversity we are committed to. In addition to having MBE, WBE firms, we are also committed to ensuring local hiring and so that there are jobs made available during construction and after to people from the community.
Our role is to be the lead general contractor here, making sure that we're amplifying the diversity participation within our project, the local community participation, and enhancing the needs for the community here from the construction side, from the supply side, and making sure that it's inclusive to everyone.
This is such a great opportunity, and we're excited to be a part of the team with POA and Urban Works to have the opportunity to combine building the future as well as restoring the past. About 1/3 of our business is restoring old buildings and revitalizing them and bringing them back to life.
This project is critically important to South Chicago because it brings together things we've been planning for a long time. It brings together affordable housing. It brings together commercial entities. It brings together wealth building for the folks who live in our community and want to stay in our community and want to see it thrive.
Our children are our new steel. And that's what's most important, that whatever we do as examples for the good, it's going to benefit us and our children. And that is the most important thing right now in this community. And they need positive things that they could visually see. And the arts happens to be one of the easiest components to me to show this effect to the community.
Thank you so much, Steel City. We will now open it up to questions from our roundtable members. And so we ask that you unmute yourself and begin your first question. Do we have a member from our roundtable?
So Linda Young has her hand raised.
Okay, Linda, please unmute yourself.
My name is Linda Young. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay, great. The question that I have is more specifics on the MBE, WBE participation. Could each group, Blackwood, Berglund, the groups associated with this project, speak to that a little bit for me?
Thank you. We'll have Raphael from Blackwood answer that first.
So good afternoon. Thank you for the question. So my name is Rafael Hernandez. I'm in principal of Blackwood Group. We are a minority-owned business, general contractor here in the city of Chicago that's been around since 2007. We've built in and around the city for many, many years. My background has been in the diversity area for over 20 years. I was a director of ASEA, who promoted the participation of minority women-owned businesses throughout the city. And now as part of this team, as the general contractor and the leader in conjunction with Berlin Construction, we are very, very happy not only to represent this side of the city, by the way, which is where I currently reside, but exercising all of the things that we've done previously on projects as it relates to participation of minority women-owned businesses. Throughout our projects, we've exceeded not only the 25 and 5, but well over the 50% participation of minority women-owned businesses in our projects. And we're very, very happy to come to South Chicago and help establish part of its growth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hernandez. We will now pass on to Peggy Salazar. Ms. Salazar, if you'll unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Firstly, I see that there are solar panels, and I know that Chicago is promoting decarbonization of buildings. And because this is new construction, will this building be electrified, meaning no fossil fuel use? Because that's what would make sense to me, especially since this is what the city has been promoting.
Maria, can you talk a little bit about that system?
Yes, sure, I will. My name is Maria Pejot. I am Principal and Design Director at Urban Works. Urban Works is an architecture, design, and interiors firm. We have been doing work in neighborhoods in Chicago for over 27 years. And just a quick note to go back to the previous question about the MBE-WB participation. We plan to partner, or we have partnered for this project with minority firms at every level, from structural, MEP, civil, landscape, and we ourselves are Latina-owned minority firm. So, but going back to the question of the solar panels, we, along with POA and the rest of the team, are very committed to green buildings and sustainable buildings. So we are committed to passive house standards for the project, including solar panels, including tight buildings that minimize the energy use for the life of the building. And I know POA has been in this realm for a very long time. I saw Conrad raise his hand as well. Perhaps he wants to answer that also.
Conrad, please go ahead.
Yes, I think Maria covered it very well, but we are committed to passive house and a net zero building for this project. And it is something we have a lot of experience with company-wide. And we look forward, if selected, undertaking that again on this project.
So are you saying then that this would meet the city's promotion for decarbonization?
I'm not specifically familiar with the city's promotion on decarbonization, but it is the highest environmental standard for new construction buildings. So I'm pretty confident that we will meet or exceed those standards on this project.
So decarbonization means electrified buildings. So you won't be using fossil fuels.
I don't believe, we will not be using fossil fuels, correct.
So there'll be no gas. The homes won't be heated by gas. There'll be no cooking gas. See, this is what I'm trying to get clear, because the city's promoting decarbonization. This is new construction. This is the time when we should implement these situations.
Great. We have not selected all of our systems, and but it is certainly something we can take into consideration as part of the design development of the project.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schlater.
Okay, I have one other question. You say there'll be 44 units. This is a commercial avenue district. Where are we going to park all those cars? Residential cars?
Thank you for that question, Peggy. Go ahead, Maria.
Thank you. Maria with Urban Works. We currently have 17 parking spaces at the lowest level of the site, which is covered parking below 4 stories of residential. We are looking at the site as being traffic oriented. Therefore, there is a reduction in parking required for the residents. So our calculation meets, I apologize, I believe it's 19 parking spaces. Our calculation meets the requirements of transit-oriented development.
Thank you, Ms. Payot. Ms. Salazar, was that your last question?
Yeah, for now. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have Amalia Nieto Gomez with a question. Ms. Nieto Gomez, please unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. I had 2 questions, different. The first one was, what is can you talk a little bit more about the plans for local hires? I know there's a mention of plans at local hires at every level. So could you talk about what that looks like or what is needed to accomplish your goal?
I'll start by just saying at the design level, we make sure that our teams are not only locally based, but also reflect the community. But then at the construction level, I think Raphael has kind of spoken to how they're going to handle construction jobs. And then on the operations level, we're committed to hiring locally, hiring for the property management, making sure that the shops and markets that are there are by local businesses and those types of things. I feel very confident in that because some of you may not know, but for Clarice & Associates, 70%, more than 70% of our staff is local. We're very committed to making sure that residents in the community are able to work locally in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Herlock. It looks like Mr. Hernandez has another comment to add.
Yeah, so Amalia, just briefly on the local factor. So when we started putting this team together, we looked at obviously the opportunity here in South Chicago. As Angela stated, several of us are local to the community, including myself. So from the makeup of the team, as far as the general contractor and some of the professional service providers, there's a local standard there. Now, our commitment to continued local participation with the community is to work closely, if selected, with a variety of the community groups from this area, as well as the Alderman's office, and look and see what local businesses, what local construction companies are in this area, so we can incorporate them into the construction side, and then look and see what the issues may be, or identifying people from the community that may be able to work on the project on the construction side. So this is the way we look at this. This is only the beginning of structuring not only a team for the project, but we're very open to talking to the community. We've done this in a variety of other projects, and certainly being that this is at least my backyard and we're leading the efforts from the construction side, there is a commitment from our team to make sure that we are incorporating the local factor here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Would it be possible also for Hansel to answer that as well from Berglund Construction?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. The only thing I would add to what Raphael said is that, Berglund Construction has been an active member of the community for the past 110 years, being located on 84th in South Chicago. We employ over 300 construction workers, project managers each year. So we are signatory to trade unions, construction unions. So we are certainly have been a consistent employer in that community. Although our work is all over the city, we are an employer in the South Chicago area.
Thank you so much, Mr. Whitehurst. We have a next question coming from Arnold Bradford. And
I had a second question. I originally said I had 2. So one was the jobs. It'd be helpful maybe after this to have, like, if there's any goals that you have for local hires would be helpful to know. But my second question was related to housing. I know you're committed to mixed housing and affordable housing. I was wondering if you had a further breakdown of what percentages that look like for affordable.
Conrad?
I'm happy to jump in there. So we are proposing a building with a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And it's going to be at a mix of incomes. We thought it was important to make homes available for households at a very low income level. So that's 30% AMI, as well as 60% of AMI. And we also thought it was important to target a little bit higher income at 80% of AMI. So we proposed a mix there at those 3 income tiers. We really wanted to talk more with the community and with the city about what the exact mix looks like at the end of the day. And we're, you know, our mission as a company is preservation of affordable housing. So we hold that mission very dear, and we know how to execute on it. And we look forward to working with the community to finalizing a mix that works for this project in this neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Schlater. We now are going to move on to another question from Arnold Bradford. And then after that will be Thomas Schell.
Good evening, everyone. This is Arnold Bradford. I'm an active senior resident of South Chicago. I have one simple question. I'd like to know, how does this particular project address public safety and lighting concerns?
I'll speak a little bit to the public safety portion of it. Claretian, having been involved with a lot of safety issues and initiatives in the community, is making sure that we work with the community and make sure that it's involved in how this community engages. We also do think that because we're going to have local businesses on the first floor and smaller stores, so that there can be small businesses at every size to be able to grow their businesses, there'll be opportunities to hire local, there'll be opportunities for people to engage, and what is that, positive loitering, also engaging the community and making sure that we're addressing its concerns around what's happening there. We all know that there's right now folks that are kind of hanging around that corner because there's nothing productive there. And so we want to bring something productive there that's going to be active most of the day, but also with public spaces that people can enjoy as well. So that's on one level how we're going to handle some of the safety, but I'll also have Maria speak a little bit about the lighting for the building as well.
Yes, thank you, Maria with Urban Works. As Angela mentioned, there is a great opportunity here to have eyes on the street and have people on the street. When you have a building that is occupied and is owned and really liked by the community, they will protect it. It becomes the best way of producing a secure environment for the residents and the community in general. Of course, with the commercial spaces on the lower level, there'll always be activity morning to night, likely with small businesses. And once again, because it is intended to be small local businesses, people know each other, neighbors know each other, and there is a security level and comfort level to that as well. So we're hoping that helps address some of those concerns.
Thank you so much, Ms. Payot. We have time for one more question, and that is shall come from Thomas Schell. Mr.
Good evening.
Schell, if you would please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tom Schell with South Chicago Parents and Friends and SSA 5. In your proposal, I see you have 53,000 square feet of housing, which will consist of 44 units. You also identify amenities for the housing of 6,745 square feet. Can you speak a little bit about to what those amenities will be?
That's the exciting part. Maria, can you talk a little bit about the spaces that are being crafted?
Yes, thank you, Angela. Yes, we're very excited about the amenities in this building, not just for the visitors to the building on the commercial side, but also for the residents and their visitors. So the building itself flanks, it's right fronting Commercial Avenue, but just behind the Commercial Avenue, between the two bars of residential, there's a beautiful courtyard that is an inviting contemplative space and a space for community. So it's available for the residents, and it's also available for any visitor. It's a public space, so giving back to the community in that sense. It's an area of respite from the activities on Commercial Avenue, and the commercial spaces will open directly into that space. We envision movie night and music and just gathering. We also have an area for playground for children in the back, as well as other green spaces for the community and the residents to enjoy. And then at the top level of the building, there is a community space that spills onto a rooftop, and it's meant to be a rooftop garden for the residents to plant, to grow their own vegetables, and to gather. In addition, there are sky lobbies, sky spaces at each floor that connect the two bars that create the residential component. And those amenity spaces are for the residents to once again get out of their unit, make community, meet their friends and neighbors, and overlook down onto the courtyard and enjoy the nice views of the city. So that's on the residential side. On the public side as well, we intend to propose.
Interrupt you, Ms. Fayette. Our period is coming to an end, so if I could please ask you to wrap up. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention that we propose a public gathering space on 89th Street as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Herlock, is there any closing statements that you'd like to make?
Yes, thank you for all the questions. We're super excited about this project, what it will bring to the community, but also what it will provide for what we've always been saying that we've needed. And we're also excited to be partnering with other local entities. And so Spanish Coalition for Housing has provided us with a letter of intent of actually moving their local offices into this building. And we're beginning to having conversations with them about that, as well as a space, a gallery space for 93 studios. And so we're just super excited about the opportunities that this will bring to, again, strengthen and create that community of choice we've been working towards.
Thank you so much, Ms. Herlock. And now we are going to move to public Q&A. Erica, are there any questions that you would like to read out loud?
Yes, there are. And I'd also just like to mention regarding lighting and safety, CDOT is proposing a full streetscape redevelopment along Commercial Avenue. And so we'll start a community process regarding the design on that this summer. So we'll certainly look for those types of comments as well when thinking about the whole of Commercial Avenue. And I also want to mention too that we have a lot of questions here in the Q&A, which is fantastic. And please keep writing them in. If we can't get to them today to answer live, we're collecting all the questions that are were asked today, and we'll answer them in writing and provide them after the meeting. So yes, please keep writing in questions and we'll get to them. Yes, trying to find some that we haven't really touched on already. We had talked a bit about safety. So there are a few questions here about safety. Is there a plan to work with the SSA and the police department to help crime that is heavy on that corner? And also, how do you plan to address surrounding businesses that may cause hesitation for people to want to rent apartments with the liquor store across the street where there's loitering?
So I guess I should do a disclaimer to say that I'm actually the chair for the SSA. So absolutely, we'll be working very closely with the SSA to make sure that we strengthen the businesses that are there and the businesses that are coming. As far as hesitation for businesses that might be hesitant to have new apartments come, I think that's a strength. And I think the businesses want more density. The businesses want more shoppers. They want more people to be able to shop locally. And so I think that's the thing that we would talk to the businesses about, is how these will be additional shoppers, potential, as their businesses grow, potential employees, and those types of things. This is a transit-oriented development, so it's not meant to create a lot of congestion, but a lot of great, affordable, new quality apartments that families can move into, families of all sizes, actually.
Thank you. Erica, shall we move on to another question?
Yes. Have you secured any letters of interest or tenants for the building as of yet?
We've secured letters of support and interest from both 93 Studios and Spanish Coalition for Housing.
Thank you. There are a number of local and regional banks in the community. What incentives exist to help keep financing local and keeping money in the community?
I guess I'm going to speak to this too. Just being a little bit familiar from working with the SSA, we have a number of banks, and I won't name any particular, but I do know of banks who are really willing to assist local entities in making sure that they have the financing that they need. Sometimes it's gap financing that they need in order to improve their businesses or do projects, particularly capital improvement or operational projects, until that money comes in. We ourselves, Clarissa and ourselves, have received monies from local banks as gap funding until monies that are being reimbursed or grants that are being reimbursed can be funded. So we will continue to work to strengthen businesses through that. And that's exactly what the SSA does, provide financing and funding for businesses to grow, to beautify, to strengthen themselves, and to expand their wings.
Great. How many commercial spaces will there be, and how do you plan to fill them?
I'll turn that over to Maria for how many specific spaces that there have been designed.
Thanks again. So something that's really exciting about this process is that the design that we put forth for the submission is only the beginning of some ideas. We really look forward to working with the community to finalize and to really fine-tune the kinds of spaces that they need, the kinds of amenities that they're looking for. Currently, I believe we have about 8,000 square feet of commercial spaces, and we intend that to be divided into smaller spaces for local companies and shops, but it is still in that flexible stage where we can accommodate somebody larger, a larger restaurant or a larger cafe, depending on what is needed. But the intent is that this is 8,000 square feet that can be divided into different sizes as needed.
And then specifically about the part about how are we going to find the businesses, we'll continue to work with the SSA. We know that they're planning a commercial business incubator. And then for the Salud Center, there is a small co-working space that is planned for that space. And so we intend on working with individuals that show, interest in wanting to take their businesses maybe from their home into a small space, and then from a small space into a larger space. That's how we'll be working.
Great. How many ADA accessible units will be available?
I'll jump in and answer that as well. It's Maria with Urban Works. We will absolutely meet the requirements of the city of Chicago. And typically the way we design buildings, every floor is accessible via elevator. So every unit is essentially accessible for visitors. Some units will specifically go beyond just accessibility for visitors with other amenities that are required for full accessibility. So we haven't done all the calculations, but we will meet or exceed the numbers that are required to be had.
Great. All right, I'm trying to find some that don't require a ton of data to answer. So there's a question about flooding in the area. will developers help address this issue?
Yes, because we all know that our area actually at one point in time was the lake. We know that our water table is very low. And so every project that Clarisha and Associates has been involved with, we've had to deal with water issues. And so sometimes that means that we're taking extreme pains to make sure that that's covered. And sometimes that can be costly, but we don't want to exacerbate and have additional problems. So we'll be making sure that we won't cause those additional problems with this building.
Can you talk, you had answered about what your community partners are. Can you talk about what roles the community partners will have in the project?
So 93 Studios will be working with us to not only create art installations around the building, but actually actively speak into how art is reflected in the building. And then Spanish Coalition for Housing, we're talking to them. They have a space about a block down that they're currently renting, and they're looking to actually purchase a space. So we're looking to not just rent to them, but looking at opportunities to condo out an actual ownership opportunity in the building for them.
And Erica, I want to remind us that we have about 2 minutes left, so maybe one more question.
Sure. Sorry. Will there be space for art installations and a place for local visual artists to be spotlighted?
Absolutely. 93 Studios is actually speaking particularly about having a gallery in the space, but there will be not only indoor like commercial spaces, but outside places that there will be able to have art and basically highlight the talent that's in the area.
Okay. Thank you so much. Steel City, thank you, Ms. Herlock, for your wonderful answers and your team. We are now ready to move on to our next developer. Okay, so now we are going to hear from Galleria 89. And so we invite Galleria 89 to please give us a quick introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Norma, for the introduction. This is a bit of a homecoming for us. So when I started 548 Development, I'm the founder, AJ Patton, founder and CEO of 548 Development. I founded the firm on the premise that all communities deserved sustainable design. I felt like there was a real hole in the market for all of our communities to participate in the renewable energy renaissance, in the energy efficient technologies that were being applied in other communities. And so I started 548 being the unit number in the projects that I grew up. I started so that all of our developments targeted communities like the ones I grew up in. And before I did my first project, I went to South Chicago, met with community leaders, met with Alderman Garza, and laid out my plans before we did our first project. So this is a bit of a homecoming for us. We're really proud of what we've accomplished in South Shore, Auburn Gresham, Chatham, North Lawndale, and we're excited about the great designs and opportunities that we can bring to South Chicago here. So feel free to start the commercial or the video, and look forward to talking and engaging with the community leaders.
Hi, I'm AJ Patton, founder and CEO of 548 Development, a Chicago-based full-service development company. We work exclusively with contractors from the communities we develop, delivering renewable energy and sustainable technology to neighborhoods that have been overlooked while empowering minority business owners. We're actively working in the Southside communities already, with a $7 million privately funded project in the South Shore community that will deliver 75 units of solar-powered affordable housing, as well as 40 units of solar housing in the Auburn Gresham community, with 100% local labor and 14 minority businesses being contracted. The 548 Development Coalition is proud to present Galleria 89, a welcoming and warm space showcasing the diverse people, experiences, and expressions of Chicago's soulful South Side. We are deliberate about art and community throughout the development so that this is more than just a building, but a vibrant gallery and meeting place for the culture makers and consumers of South Chicago. With over 43,000 square feet of solar-powered housing and 12,000 square feet of retail and amenity space, Galleria 89 will serve as a new landmark hub that generates foot traffic and revenue for the community. We've integrated partners from South Chicago and beyond to ensure the success and sustainability of this development long-term and to catalyze generational wealth and opportunity. The 548 Development Coalition is a group of 100% minority and women-owned businesses, including Chicago's largest African-American-owned engineering firm, Millhouse Engineering and Construction, Engage Civil, Gold Leaf Capital Partners, and Revetna Architects, a minority and LGBT-owned design firm. Our proposal restores to glory a 3-story building made of warm Chicago brick and memorializes Chicago's history as the epicenter of the steel industry and its steel frame and material touches. The brick frame of our new build is reminiscent of the warehouses and industrial buildings rooted in Chicago's South Side, marrying the old and the new with modern, rich burgundy brick, steel, and glass at a complementary height to fit in with the surrounding urban streetscape. The ground floors provide a contemporary retail space with curved glass walls, providing covered outdoor space while also offering safe views of activity happening around the corner. These two structures are connected by an open-air plaza, allowing room for outdoor seating and connecting this space with the mixed-use building across the way. The archival brick wall, preserved from the back of the secondary building, will serve as the focal point for a large mural, becoming an opportunity for the community to select a local artist each year to design a mural that will generate dialogue and community pride. This is a community space for art, visual, performance, light, sound, and when not in use, becomes a spot for children to entertain and play. We are excited to bring sustainable, solar-powered housing to South Chicago with 45 units of both affordable and market-rate housing ranging from 1 to 3-bedroom floor plans. Millennium Solar, the largest minority-run solar training program in Illinois, will skill a cohort of local residents, and at completion of the project will be placed in full-time construction careers. The anchor of our establishment is Dollop Coffee, who will take over the first floor of the rehab building, transforming it into a connected community cafe, where locals can grab a cup of coffee, meet for business or social visits, access high-speed Wi-Fi, host community events and classes, and view the talents of artists from the neighborhood, becoming an all-ages gathering place. Dollop has committed to hiring locally, so people from the community will be employed to serve their neighbors and build stronger bonds. Dollop will also donate a portion of each sale into a fund that will go towards funding projects in the space. This community currently does not even have a coffee shop. And what coffee shops truly are just community gathering spaces. So the cross-sectionality of art, being able to gather, conduct business, engage your neighbor, that's the beauty of what this location is and can be. Additional youth education programming will be provided by Latinx-owned Cameo Labs, who will train local facilitators to teach real-world problem solving, social entrepreneurship, and youth activism. Another vital resource for the community will be a business center, offering professional services and resources such as basic print and copy, along with packing and shipping, providing infrastructure for both residents and small businesses to mail and store packaging. This is a high-tech space so that local entrepreneurs can come together and connect, grow their businesses, learn and evolve, and that is supported by the Jami Group and Black Women Talk Tech that will be providing the mentorship and the tele-advisor technology for these entrepreneurs. Knowing how uplifting art can be, we have partnered with Sky Art and Roman Villarreal's 9-3 Studios to be our community-led art consultants, commissioning uniquely local murals and sculptures and sourcing artwork from residents to showcase throughout the development, including dedicated spots for focal point murals and interior space for rotating gallery. Sky Art is a trusted center for creativity and community within and beyond South Chicago, serving more than 3,500 kids a year with free art education and experiences. Their fully owned Sky Art Studios facility is located a few blocks from this site. Roman Villarreal is a South Chicago native whose sculptures and artwork can be seen throughout the community. He not only creates innovative pieces, but mentors budding artists at his communal studio on 93rd Street. If this neighborhood is going to have a chance to take advantage of sustainable options, we must first invest in the infrastructure to do so. We have partnered with EV Match to power a flexible app for the community to book electric vehicle charging for half the cost of alternative options. EV drivers pay for their own electricity through this app. In our goal to create an equitable transit-oriented development, we will aim to create safe bike storage accessible to residents and explore partnerships for bike repair to make this a bike-friendly location. Integrating with community organizations will contribute to the synergy of our programs. We have the support of neighboring Pilsen Wellness Center, an organization doing amazing work in human services, including addiction and mental health support. Through our partnership, we will house their internationally sourced bilingual therapists with reserved residential units in Galleria 89. The combination of these programs will help ensure that this development is not only a part of the community, but helps propel the community forward. Our project will create over 390 construction jobs and an estimated 60 permanent jobs between the proposed program and remaining available commercial space with an emphasis on sourcing local labor and talent. Our total project cost is $23.5 million, $1 million in equity, $6.5 million in debt, $5 million in tax credits, and a non-serviceable gap of $10.6 million. We're creating more than just a beautiful building. We are providing an environment conducive to growth and innovation and worthy of the incredible people of South Chicago. I'm excited to work together to create the best plan for Commercial Avenue and South Chicago as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Galleria 89. And it seems that we had a glitch in the video. It looks like there was a part of the screen that was blocked with a gray bar that was not meant to be part of the video. So we apologize.
Oh, that was my good side too. Jeez. Oh.
Thank you very much. And so now we'd like to open it up for questions. And so if you are interested in asking a question, we ask that you please raise your hand and we will place you in order and call you in the order that you have raised your hand. Mr. Shell, you have your hand up. I'm not sure if that was from your previous question earlier.
No, that was previous. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Do we have a question from the audience? Ms. Salazar, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, you said solar powered. Is that 100% solar powered building?
We won't be able to get to 100% due to the size of the location. So our intent, as we do at all of our programs, is try to get to net zero and take advantage of as much solar as we can on location, as well as I know, Ms. Salazar, you kind of referenced that our direction with, absolutely, right. I'll speak to that as well. So our target is net zero for the project, as well as I'm sure you saw that our commitment with our partnership with EV Match, where we plan to also provide electric vehicle infrastructure, which is clearly lacking in the neighborhood. And so we want to provide one of those locations as well to continue to support and incentivize people to be responsible and supportive of our environment. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Ms. Salazar, did you have any other?
Yeah, I had another question, and I may have missed this during the presentation, but you have commitments already from these businesses and agencies and organizations you mentioned. That's already a commitment, so it's a sure thing.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So if you're familiar with Dollop Coffee, they've got several dozen, maybe a dozen locations throughout the city. So they've already committed to South Chicago. Not only do they commit to the project, they committed to hiring exclusively from the neighborhood, and they committed to a portion of the proceeds of every sale going into the neighborhood. And so they will anchor the rehab space. They will also provide the partnership with Sky Art so that the kids can have their art show there and a rotating gallery there. and that will be a part of a cafe, and that will be an entertainment space, music, spoken word, etc. And there are other commitments that we have as well. And I want to make sure I don't hog the microphone here. Rachel from one of our business partners here, Rachel from Syzygy Cities. Do you mind, you want to speak to some of the other letters of intent that we have?
Sure. Hi, my name is Rachel Voss. I'm the CEO of Syzygy Cities, and we bring some of the corporate social responsibility programming, including the Business Center, which will be run by a Chicago native from South Chicago, and she is the CEO of Jami Group, which is a group of business leaders. She served in the Obama White House, and they sort of gather together all of their business, corporate and political leaders from around the world to come in and be mentors to local communities through Zoom kiosks. So creating access to national business and political leaders for local community members, as well as giving them internet connected space, which we've partnered with several different telecom companies in different areas to provide 5G. As well as print shop and office space and meeting centers. And Cambia Labs does after school mentorship programs to help sort of create a safe place for students to go after school, and also to help them with their studies and their homework after school.
Thank you, Rachel. Was there anybody else from your team that would like to address that, Mr. Patton?
No, I think we're good so far.
Okay, Ms. Salazar, did you have another question?
No, except that the solar hasn't really been answered, because I think you might have an idea of what percentage those solar panels are going to be able to provide to the building.
Yeah, some of that's going to be dependent on that calculation. Yeah, absolutely. So without fully nerding out, we could probably have a side conversation if it sounds like we're of similar interests. Some of this will be dependent on where we end up in terms of the R value in the roof, R value in the frame around the framing of the side and exterior windows, and what we end up in terms of the U value of the windows, R value of the exterior walls, and R value of the roof. So where we end up with that calculation and cross-referencing that with the MEP selection that we end up with, so a lot of that depends on where material prices end up at the end of the year. That will then dictate what percentage of the solar, is. Our intent is to cover the entire roof with solar, but what percentage that ends up, reflecting can give or take. So,
and so also I got the impression that you won't have a lot of commercial space, like you differ from the other project in that you won't have like shopkeepers and.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not. No, so we will actually have a lot of commercial space, probably over, I think, 10 or 12,000 square foot. So no, those businesses that Rachel was referring to, that's the commercial space.
Okay, so it's just that it's different than retail.
So there's still 10,000 square feet left for retail, I believe, around that amount for small shops and things of that nature.
Okay, so then I do have a question. What will the rents be? Will they be comparable to what the existing rents are? Because we've been hearing that local businesses may want to come and utilize the space, but we know they're paying X amount of rent currently. Will that apply to your project?
Absolutely. So yeah, so our intent is to give the local businesses first rights on that location. And so as I believe Erica kind of referenced, that this will go in phases. So if we are selected, then we will roll out a community engagement program to engage those local businesses that have interest in the location, and then start that negotiation process about who would like to be tenants in those locations, and make sure that that engagement is sincere and authentic, and then we can get to the nuts and bolts. Right now, we're just still at the very early macro planning stages, and we've got early commitments of places where we feel like there are needs, business center and coffee shop. We feel like are some of the core things that are needed at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. And I would like to now ask our roundtable members if there are any other questions. If there are not, then we can move into questions that we have from our Q&A. Erica, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sure. So there are a number of questions and comments regarding the coffee shop. So a number of people have pointed out that there's Dolce's Cafe located in the community. So question about how did Dollop become involved? When they talk about donate a portion of their sales, where does that fund go, and who controls the fund? So if you could just talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will be a part of our community engagement process. So we started the conversations with Sky Art and other members of the community, and we'd like to expand that out, right? So once selected, we'd like to have that community engagement process include where should this money be directed? Where can it be most impactful? And so that is a part of our plan there. So what we wanted first is to get the commitment from the coffee shop that they would share those resources. And then it's not my intent or my team's decision on where that money should go. We think that should go into the hands of the community, and then they should be leading the direction of that capital and those resources.
There are also a couple questions about parking, if you can talk about what parking is provided.
Cyrus from Ravetna Architects, you want to speak to that?
Hi there, sure. Hi there, I'm Cyrus from Ravetna Architects. We're proud to help out on this project. I'll just talk a little bit about parking. We have, when we walk the site, AJ and I, the beauty of the site is that it actually slopes down to the alley. And what that allows you to do is have commercial on the ground floor, and then accessible parking that's not underground, but still accessible from the alley that's below the ground floor elevation. So that's a real advantage for us. We get 16 at-grade parking spaces, and we've done a couple of different options depending on what the community wants. But we have the possibility for an additional 22 parking spaces under the building. But remember, it's not underground parking. It's still at-grade parking because of that sloped lot. So we have up to 38 parking spaces for the community. And it's really the community's decision on how many parking spaces they'd like to have there.
Thank you. A question about Cambio Labs. The question is that there are a number of organizations that already provide organizing and leadership in the community already. So how is Cambio Labs chosen, and where are they based now?
Hi, so I can take that question. Cambio Labs is based in, they're a program that can be virtual and on the ground, and they're located in several places right now. They've been in Brooklyn, they've been global in other countries across in the world, in like China, as well as California. And I think that the idea here was that they would just be a program, not a tenant. So I think it would be great to have multiple programs, and part of the hope here is that this is sort of an instigator of a place where a lot of the community programs can come to the fore and come together. And I don't think there's a shortage of ways we can help the learning and improvement of after school programs for the kids. So it's not an or, but an and.
Thank you. Question is 53% of South Chicago residents only have a GED. What type of jobs are available, not just for construction, but for jobs after construction is completed?
So in terms of on the site with the retail tenants, or is that gauged towards? I'm a bit. So obviously the coffee shop committed to hiring local. Obviously the business center would hire local. Our intent, what we do at all of our programs, and we showed this in the video, is that we do a training program around renewable energy, and we confirm through a job placement program that after the project's over, the people that are part of that job training program get hired full time. And so our intent is to exclusively hire from the neighborhood for that job training program, allow them to work on that particular project as a showcase opportunity for them to be hired full-time to another organization. So that's been our approach for all of our projects. We've had a lot of success with it, and that's why we've boxed it up and taken it on the road. So that's been our job, kind of our job focus.
Thank you. So there also been a couple questions about unit mix and affordability. So if you could talk a bit about that piece.
Absolutely. 1 to 3. Well, let me not chew up all the. Cyrus, did you want to speak to unit mix?
Yeah, I can talk to you a little bit about that. Yeah,
I can do this all day, man. Sorry.
No problem. And I'll just, take a brief moment to just introduce myself. We're from Revetna Architects, and we had a very comfortable office in downtown Chicago. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, we realized that almost all of our clients are on the south side of Chicago. So we decided to move our office to the south side of Chicago, to the Bridgeport Art Center at 35th and Racine. And we've worked in almost every south side neighborhood. We're committed to revitalizing all distressed buildings. And we really believe that everybody deserves great architecture. So it's really our mission to help revitalize distressed buildings and help families and communities and businesses get into respectable places to live. So in terms of the unit mix, that's something we really take great pride in, is not just creating, they call them dwelling units, but to me, they're not dwelling units. These are really homes. And we really try and understand the people that are living in a building, and we create a building that really fits with that community. And this building wasn't designed for the city of Chicago. It wasn't designed for the United States. It was designed for South Chicago. And we really took the community into consideration when we were designing it, not just the community, but also the street that it's on and the topography of the site and, all those different factors that are specific to this neighborhood and this community. So that's where we came up with the design. And then going back to the dwelling units, we see this building as an opportunity for families to live and grow. And so the majority of the units are, not the majority, I think we have about 40% of the units are 2-bedroom, another 40% are 3-bedroom units, and then there's another about 10 or 20% that are 1-bedroom units. So we still wanted to have a mix of homes there. And something that's also very important to us is the connection to the outdoors. So again, they're not dwelling units, they're actual homes. And when people have a connection to outdoors, it really brings you closer to nature and closer to the community. And so we really wanted to focus those private terraces on the main streets that brings people to the community. And then also where those homes don't face the main street, they still have outdoor spaces, so you have a connection to nature. And we feel that not only becomes a home, but you also then have that connection to nature, which really makes it a comfortable place to live.
Thank you. So one of the questions I see here is that the attendee has seen that the 548 development team has already responded to RFPs. So are they just going after all Invest Southwest RFPs? Talk about how, is this one just one of a list you're checking off, or please talk about why you responded to this RFP.
Yeah, absolutely. As I opened in my intro, this was the first community. Alderman Sue Garza is the first alderman I ever met with. This is the first community where I had the conversations about, is my vision correct? So this was our target from the very beginning. We have other partners that we are partnered in that have asked us for our expertise in sustainability. So absolutely, we will help and service with other developments that we would definitely, we're not going to hide. We're an emerging development company. We're going to continue to help other development companies that call us. Many of the people on this line have called us and asked for help on sustainable design techniques, inclusion in hiring, et cetera, et cetera. So no, I mean, this is not one of a list. This was an absolute target.
I can also jump in there too. What really attracted us to this site was the existing building. And it's an absolutely fantastic building. It's not a historic landmark, but it's a typical Chicago building. And we really feel that, you know, these distressed buildings are like abandoned kids, and they become our children, and they just need some help and support to turn them back into you know, vibrant places to live. So what really attracted us was the opportunity to restore an existing building, and then also to develop a new construction adjacent to it.
Great. Just looking for some other ones here. So you mentioned it in the video, but can you please talk a bit about the development team and the type of vendors you hire, brown and black and MBEs?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So our vision in why I started the company is that we feel like the actual contractors in the neighborhood should get first dibs on these deals. More importantly, the diversity of the contractors at the prime level should reflect the diversity of the neighborhood. And so we think that Invest Southwest is almost by definition given the opportunity for MBEs to set in the prime roles of all of the major line items in a development, right? And then as well, in addition to setting in the prime roles, that there also should be additional minority and women-owned firms that set underneath in subcontractor roles. And so if we take Invest Southwest off the table for a second, every other project that we do that is privately funded looks just like that. So our largest two projects, entirely privately funded, no tax credits, no TIF, 14 different MBEs got contracts. And we are intentional, not just at the construction level, but also who's the accountant, who's the lawyer, who's the consultant. That matters as well. That needs to be inclusive as well. There needs to be intentionality about those projects as well. And so, you know, we picked Millhouse because obviously they're a great GC and engineering firm. But as you look through our RFP and our proposal, we've thought about who should be on the legal team, who should be the financial consultant, about who should execute the tax credits and put the capital stack together, et cetera, et cetera. So inclusion isn't just a headline, it should be intentional in the reality at all levels.
Sorry, I'm just reading through some of these here. So Ravetna's residential website appears to be mainly high-end residential. Do you have experience with affordable housing design?
Quite a bit, actually.
Cyrus, can I take that for you?
Sure, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna take this for you, please. Cyrus is Invest Southwest is made for Cyrus because he is the architect for every black and brown developer that has to fight for their deals. For every little developer like me that's fighting to do 6 flats and 12 units that can't afford the fancy architects downtown, they go through and find the right designers that care about these communities. He talks about them as adopted children. That's the reason why I picked him, is because he's the guy in South Shore, in Auburn Gresham and David Moore's ward, on his hands and knees in a basement, giving me ideas on MEPs. So he is the affordable guy, and he is the champion for the developers that never make the headlines, that never get the big deals downtown in the support of LaSalle Street. And sorry, Cyrus, I'm passionate about you because, you know, these are supposed to be programs for people like you. You should be highlighted in these moments. And so I'm really proud of our partnership and our friendship, brother. I'm sorry to hog the microphone, but
okay.
there will be no idea where anyone will hog you as, corner you as the condo guy when you do Six Flats on the south and west sides all day. So I just want to make sure you get that appropriate language there. I'm sorry.
Thank you, AJ. I appreciate it. Like I said earlier, we believe that everybody deserves great architecture. And we're the architect that every other architect says, no, thanks, we don't want that job. We go there and we do it and we get them a permit. We've done, all sorts of small jobs. We're doing a job right now where the homeowner, they just didn't realize they needed a permit, so they built a carport. And, the city issued a violation, and we give him just as much attention as we give our really high-end residential clients. So we don't discriminate. We think that everybody deserves great architecture, from the little small guy all the way up to the big developer. And we like to help everybody. And currently right now, I'd say about 60 to 70% of our work is on the south side of Chicago. And another, say, 20 or 30% is other neighborhoods in Chicago and surrounding areas, and then other 5 or 10% nationwide. So we really, truly believe that everyone deserves great architecture. And our website is a little bit old and out of date. So it could use an upgrade for sure.
Hi, thank you, Cyrus, and thank you, Mr. Patton. We probably have time for one more question and then some closing remarks from you. So Erica, will you give us one more question?
Sure. So given that the main public transportation option in this area are buses, is this really a good fit for transit-oriented development?
Well, so
absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, I think every spot is a good fit for transit-oriented development. But we recognize that people have cars and people want to drive. And that's why we've have those alternate options for, depending on how many parking spaces the community feels they need, we can fit those. And I said up to 38 in my previous statement, but we can actually fit more. And again, that's because of the topography of the site, which allows us to have at-grade parking under the commercial space. So we really like to listen to the community and see what they say and provide that amount of parking.
Thank you so much. Did you want to add something, Mr. Patton, to that question?
We think it's about options. So whether you want to drive your car, you want to take the bus, you want to ride your bike, you want to charge your electric vehicle, we think that our community deserves options like the others. And I think that's what's most important for our development. What we're bringing is options.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. And would you like to offer any closing remarks?
Yeah,
AJ, before you start, can I just, sorry, I'm just so passionate about this project. We didn't get to talk about the plaza too much. It just didn't come up in the questions. But what AJ and I and our team really wanted was to give something back to the community. And we wanted that plaza to be that gift back to the community. And so it's not insular. It's not just for the residents. It's not just for the people that go to the coffee shop. It's for everybody in the community. And so, and we've also thought a lot about safety, and we wanted it to be a safe place and a safe plaza. So we activated it through the coffee shop being there, which brings people there. And also the residential entrance to the residential apartments is through that courtyard. So there's always people walking by there so they can see what's happening in the plaza, and it therefore makes it more safe. But that plaza really becomes a meeting space, a gathering space. It brings the community together through the selection of the artwork on that art wall in the back. And we were speaking of that art wall, we really struggled with the demolition of that small building. But we felt that the win for the community was worth the loss of that building. But we still wanted to keep the history of that building, so we kept the back wall of it. And we'll restore it, of course, and make it safe. But that wall becomes the backdrop for the plaza. which is a place for artwork, rotating artwork for different artists. The community can be involved in the selection of those artists. And then there's a stage at the base of that wall, which becomes, performance area for, whatever Friday happy hours and whatever else has to happen there, spoken word, all sorts of other community activities. So to us, that plaza is really the way that we get back to the community. And sorry, AJ, took your last.
No, I did it to you first, so it's okay.
It just didn't come up, and I really
30
wanted
seconds. I will 30 seconds in by just saying we're grateful to Alderman and to Commissioner Cox for the opportunity. We think that Invest Southwest opens the door for our neighborhoods to get fresh ideas, fresh energy, and fresh developments. And so we're really, really grateful for the opportunity, and thank you guys for the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patton, and to your team. And thank you to Steel City and their team. We are very grateful that you are here and that you, thank you especially to our community members, our roundtable members who have been fervently addressing this. Thank you for all our audience members. And now I would like to turn it back over to Erica to close us out.
Sure. First, I'd just like to introduce Commissioner Cox. He's been here for the whole meeting as well, listening to comments and questions. So I don't know if you'd like to say something, Commissioner?
Sure. No, good evening. And it's fantastic to join you and to listen to the really, really sharp and informative questions that residents are asking. Again, I wasn't here when Alderman Garza spoke, but she is our partner in this effort. And this goes back to my first days here where we drove around her community and she talked about the kind of development that she wanted to see and that she wanted her community to have choices. And so I have to compliment the Steel City Development Group and Galleria 89. What I love about this process is that the community has choice and they're seeing fantastic ideas that are rooted in creating local wealth, that are creatively programmed, beautifully designed, and now they get to have their say. And we all get to learn a little something. Part of the process, I don't know how many of the community members have been through a process like this, but we are very, very intentional that we want the community to shape the design and development. We want them to understand the steps even before the RFP is written. We want them to talk about their values, their vision, and then see if the development community can effectively interpret their vision. And I think you've seen a bit of that today, just how wonderfully clear the community's vision is, because the designs are both speaking very clearly to what they heard and what they could interpret from the brief. So again, my compliments to the teams for the passion and the commitment that you're making to the South Side. I wish you both the best of luck as we go through the next process, which I suspect Erica will talk to you about. But just thank you, community, for showing up. This is a very impressive turnout for an evening when you could be having dinner. This is something that I think is a testament to just how much you care about South Chicago. And so thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Garza, did you want to say anything at the end here?
I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that is here this evening, and I look forward to the next steps. Do you want to maybe just talk about what happens next?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So next steps, everyone who registered for the meeting will get an email that will include links to today's developer presentations. And I believe Jasmine already put that into either the chat or the Q&A. So those, you can also go to DPD's YouTube page and see the developer presentations. We'll also send out a Q&A. I had mentioned there were a lot of questions in the Q&A that we did not get to. So we will have all of those synthesized and put out to the community. And most importantly, we'll send a link to a community scorecard for you to score the 2 different proposals. And this again is something we'll send out to everyone. When you get it, please share it with your neighbors and anyone else who has interest in this. And that'll help us gather some data about the position.
Erica, if I could just elaborate, because that's a very good point that you make, that these surveys of these scorecards are really, really vital information for us to take the temperature about the community's understanding for the project. And the first round of RFPs we did not get the same response that we got in the Meet the Developer presentations. So there were 135 folks on this call tonight. It would be awesome if we had 100 surveys to be filled out, or because we've recorded videos, when you receive the link to the YouTube video, you can forward it to someone who couldn't be here tonight along with the survey. So it's like each one teach one, each one reach one, someone who did not participate, but who you know has a vital interest in this, so that we can multiply the numbers and we can really say that everyone has heard about this. Because what we don't want to happen is that we make a choice and then residents who live like 200 feet away said, I never heard about it. So the best way we could do that is to have you multiply the reach, because we have the materials, and commit to forwarding it to 1 or 2 other people who you knew would have loved to have been here tonight, but they weren't. So if we can commit to that, we should have many, many more respondents to the next steps.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. And other information we'll include in the email is that we'll bring some flyers to the library right off of Commercial, and have that information available if someone's there to use a computer. They may not have a computer themselves, but if they're there to use a computer, we'll have information available where they can fill out the survey there. So again, we'll include that information in the email. So once we collect all of this input, a winning team will be announced, and we're targeting midsummer for that. And after the team is selected, DPD will refer to feedback from this meeting, future public meetings, to advance negotiations and amend the proposal that was selected. And there's also a number of most likely zoning changes that would be needed. So that also goes through a public process as well. So tonight is certainly not the last. This is really the start of the evaluation process. So we really appreciate all of you being here today. And again, we'll send out an email to everyone who registered today. So be on the lookout for that information next week. So with that, I really want to thank Norma, who helped us so much this evening. So thank you. And the development teams, and the roundtable members, and of course, everyone who submitted a question to the Q&A and listened today. So we really appreciate that. So I wish everyone a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, Norma.